Andy Davis reporting. Now, a hijab-wearing Muslim is a finalist in the Great British Bake Off. A model who also covers her head is chosen by the fashion chain H&M for its latest campaign. For some, it's a moment to reflect on a melding of cultural identities. For others, it's a worrying sign that Britain is slowly but unstoppably adapting to Islam. In the wake of the row over the Home Secretary's speech on immigration yesterday, we'll be debating what this all says about Britain's multicultural identity. But first, Fatima Manji on how women in Birmingham see the hijab.
Rather than being behind a closed door, hijab has become accepted in the sense that the fashion movement, in terms of hijabi fashion bloggers.
Rima Tadmuri prides herself on creating intricate, unique wedding dresses. Most of her clients are Muslim women, seeking out designs that cover up in stunning style. Rima's part of a new generation of hijab fashionistas, confidently using their identity to market their products and their own brand.
Young girls, middle-aged women, quite a lot of women around the world have actually seen a huge influence in terms of the people who are pushing forward, not necessarily a movement, but something that's always been there, but bringing it more to the surface.
But the increasing visibility of Muslim women in headscarves appearing in mainstream media isn't without controversy.
The overall effect is really very beautiful.
Tonight's favourite to win the Great British Bake Off, Nadia, has a huge fan base, which even includes the Prime Minister. Yet some commentators have called her casting politically correct. And a recent advert from H&M featuring this model reignited a long-standing debate over what some call the Islamisation of Britain, with suggestions British women would feel compelled to cover up, just as women in places like Afghanistan had to. Salma Yaqub was one of the first visibly Muslim women to appear on our screens as a politician.
I didn't come out politically defending the hijab, but I found inevitably that as soon as I was on a public platform, people were making issues about the fact that I had this piece of cloth on my head. So a bit of it was a bit puzzling, some of it was a bit upsetting because of the assumptions people made.
She sees fears over the prominence of Muslim women in hijab as being a form of scaremongering and racism.
The pressure here actually is to not wear it. My life would be easier in many more ways, if I decided not to wear a scarf in public. What is not happening is some kind of sinister takeover.
In Germany, one TV channel used this image of Angela Merkel as a shorthand for debate on refugees. So is the controversy in Britain also linked to immigration fears or genuine concern about women's rights? Most Muslim women like Rima are simply fed up of being the subject of debate.
Yes, I'm covering my hair, but it doesn't mean I'm covering my brain. I do have a brain in my head to think and have my own opinions. It doesn't slow me down, it doesn't create any barriers between me and somebody else.
Fatima Manji reporting. Well, I'm now joined by the Mail on Sunday columnist Peter Hitchens, who wrote at the weekend that non-Muslim women would eventually be pressed to conform, and the writer Nesrine Malik. Thanks for coming in, both of you. Let me start with you, Nesrine. The image of seeing Nadia, whose family originally came from Bangladesh, wearing her hijab and struggling with the vol au vent, describing it as being, when it didn't go very well, it was like buttery cellulite. I mean, that's quite an extraordinary celebration of multiculturalism, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't understand what the fuss is about. For someone to be wearing a hijab, to be on a reality TV show, or to be in an ad, it shouldn't even be something to comment on in any way other than this is really cool, this is representing a significant swathe of Muslim British people, and it's something that we should celebrate.
Are we all supposed to have only one opinion about everything? I mean, you might have different...
But what's your opinion about it?
My opinion is, actually, I've always advanced this as an attack on the anti-Christian new atheists who have made a huge effort to attack Christianity in this country, to remove it from the state and from the culture, to get it out of the House of Lords, to make this country officially un-Christian, and pointed out to them that they might not actually like it if another religion, particularly Islam, filled the space that was left by Christianity. That's the main reason I've ever raised the subject at all. All I did on Sunday was to point out that there was a significant moment when an advertising company working for a major fashion chain chose to show a woman in a hijab. Advertising is incredibly sensitive to social trends. It picks them up and it promotes them. And when that kind of thing happens, it seems to me to be worth fastening on. The other point about this is that the hijab isn't just controversial here. It's controversial in the Middle East and in the whole Muslim world. And there's been a huge increase in hijab wearing. If you could return now to the Middle East or to Afghanistan of the 1970s, you'd hardly see it at all.
I'm sorry, but you still haven't told us what your opinion is. You've said, is one supposed to have only one opinion? What is your opinion? What is your objection to having a woman in hijab on TV?
I don't have a political program. As far as I'm concerned, this is something which is happening, that I'm interested in.
But a woman wearing a hijab, struggling with the vol au vent...
You don't have a political program about what people should wear.
But is Nadia struggling with her vol au vent, wearing her hijab on British television in the Great Bake Off, a threat to British culture?
It's not a threat. British culture is dead on its feet anyway. British culture has been destroyed systematically by lots of other people over the past 40 or 50 years. There isn't one really now. We have multiculture. It's part of multiculture, which is something that I did once think that I might be able to push back against.
I still have not heard what your opinion is. What is your opinion on, what is your problem with women wearing hijab, being visible? In your article, you said, one day we will have women in hijab on television, in Parliament, and one day this will become normal. Yeah, and what is wrong with that? Why is that something that is to be alarmed or worried about?
I didn't say anything was wrong with it.
Well, then what?
Do you think
what happened was a number of people wanted to have a fight with me about this.
Right.
And wanted to suggest, and this is what happened on Twitter, they wanted to suggest that I was in some way embracing some sort of phobia, which of course is the immediate thought police attitude towards any expression of any opinion which the thought police don't like.
But I think you should forgive people for reading that into your piece. When
No,
you say,
I won't forgive people. No, I won't forgive people for reading things into what I write that I haven't said.
You've had your say in the piece, and this is people trying to respond to it. You said that there is a gradual but unstoppable normalization or adaptation to Islam in this country. Does that language not sound alarmist to you, that you're basically striking a warning shots, gradual but unstoppable, assumes that there's something that we don't want to happen? Can you not see how that reads?
It doesn't actually assume that. It simply states it as a fact. And it may well be, and I would prefer it if this country hadn't gone down the path of multiculturalism.
I
would prefer it.
Finally, we have an opinion.
I would prefer it if this country had not gone down the path of multiculturalism.
So what you're really saying is that what you're really saying...
I'm really saying... Nesrine, I'm really saying what I'm really saying. Okay, I'm really writing what I'm really writing. To try and stuff meanings into what I say and write which aren't there.
I'm not.
Can I butt in just with a little question?
It's completely and utterly illegitimate.
It's my turn now with a tiny little question. So, Peter, the Prime Minister speaking today was celebrating British multiculturalism, was railing against racism, was in favour of the extraordinary variety that this society has to offer, the Tory Prime Minister of this country. Do you agree with him?
Multiculturalism has nothing to do with race.
Of course it does.
In fact, in many ways, it is.
But do you agree with him or not when he says these things?
It is the reverse. I don't agree with anything he says. The multicultural culture and race are two utterly different things. The great hope in the world is precisely that people's cultures can change. If we believe that everything is fixed and cannot be changed, that is what makes people racial bigots.
This is the whole point of the hijab, and I think finally we've got something out of Peter. The motif of the hijab makes people like Peter uncomfortable because it implies that this sort of rosy, white, homogenous culture of British society is now on the wane. And that's what it's all about. It's not about women conforming. It's not about women coming under pressure. That is a fig leaf for basically the dying gasp of monoculturalism in the UK.
I've never said, I've never said
Peter,
the words
the fig
just
leaf,
put it in my mouth.
We've got to leave it with a fig leaf. We've got to leave it with a fig leaf because we run out of time. Nesrine Malik, Peter Hitchens, thank you very much.
Thank you.
After the break, I've been talking with the actor Mark Rylance about his latest film,